Isn't it time that you stop making excuses and be happy and successful in life? Welcome to Be Happy, Feel Great, where we bring in the experts that are going to help you achieve your goals, your dreams, and your objectives. And I'm very happy today to have an expert, and I want to introduce Tom Glover.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, Tom. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's great. And Tom is a managing partner of Attain Management Services in the medical field. And Tom has really been the role model for real-world experiences. He's done it all. He has started companies, he's an entrepreneur, a CEO of various companies, and he learned how to do it where he worked from the ground floor up. And I think that he has a lot that he could share with people today. There's so many college students, so many people, Tom, that are out there that they're graduating and they don't know what they're going to do, And you probably heard it. And I want to go back because you're really going to be the person that's going to set them straight in a lot of ways here today.
Okay,
so it is. But, let's go back to high school.
Okay.
You graduated around the same time that I did, Can we start with, how did you enter the job for us?
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me here today. I think this is a great opportunity to share some of my background and experiences and possibly help somebody in the job market right now.
Yeah, they need it. They need somebody like you. So thank you.
Yeah. So talk about experiences in the real world. One of the challenges that every student has to face, either when they're in high school or when they're in college, is how do you use those educational experiences to get a foothold into the real world, to actually get a job when you get out of school. So for example, when I was in high school, I did a number of different jobs. I did retail jobs, I sold shoes. I also worked outdoors in the summers with a group of guys that had just gotten back from the Vietnam War, and they did what they did best because they couldn't find a job otherwise. They did landscaping, they paved roads, and that's what I did. So it was really a great experience of learning entrepreneurial skills because they started the business, and then it was also very important to learn how to satisfy the customer and make a profit. So those are really good experiences.
And probably, too, you got to see things that you said to yourself, I wouldn't want to do this the rest of my life.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Sure.
And as a matter of fact, to reinforce that point, a lot of the guys that were involved in the business that had gotten back from the war would turn to me as we were paving, in 90-degree weather, we were paving a road or paving a driveway, sweating like crazy. These guys would turn to me and say, you better not be doing this 10 years from now. You better take the opportunity that you've got and make something out of your life. So it really was a great opportunity.
So you knew right then that you knew what hard work was like.
Of course, yep.
And you were setting your goals, and you were at least saying, well, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do something else.
Right.
And I'm sure that there was a whole process of thinking and, thinking back around the 70s, everybody worked.
Sure.
It seemed like everybody had a part-time job. They worked in the summer. I see it a lot different today. You and I, we were talking before the show that we would go out and shovel snow in the winter, or rake leaves, anything to make a few extra dollars.
Sure.
Now when I need somebody to come, I wish they would knock on my door and say, hey, you need a little bit of help around here, but I guess they're busy.
Right.
High school is so different today.
Yeah.
They are the AP classes that they're taking. They're taking college classes right in high school, and then they're involved because to get into a good college, they say you have to be doing things for the community. So they're doing community service where they're volunteering, which is great. That's wonderful. And then they're involved in their sports and their extracurricular activities and the clubs and the organizations.
Right.
It's only 24 hours in a day, I guess
Yeah.
it's a little bit, of a change in world, right? From
Sure,
when
sure.
you and I went to school.
Well, Mike, I know you're a former high school teacher. So, in your experience, how did students at the high school level get experience or get that momentum to get a job when they get out?
Well, one of the things that was interesting is they had a mindset, a lot of them, that they want to get out and they want to be the boss. They want to go up to the top.
Right.
They're missing something in the process. That's one of the things that I noticed.
Right.
Besides getting into the process of how they did it. But you worked your way up to be the boss.
Yeah.
So let's go back to that and
Sure.
really share that with them. So you got out in the field. You're working there. Okay, then you went on to college.
Right. Right. And then again, I worked my way through college. I always had a job again, either in retail or doing something outdoors. And again, I was building experiences. I didn't know it at that time, but I was building experiences that when I got to my senior year and companies were coming onto the campus to recruit for different jobs, the trick was, how do you differentiate yourself? Well, you differentiate yourself with the experiences and the talents that you can bring to your employer. So, it was important at that time. We didn't have the internet at that time.
No,
so
right.
When I was in
Who would have
college,
thought?
you'd go to the library, you'd sit there, and if there was a company that was coming to interview students on campus, you'd read as much as you could in either periodicals or in the newspapers about the company, and you tried to learn more about the company and what their needs are so you can apply your experiences to fit their needs. And I think that was very important, and I was very fortunate and got hired as a senior on campus at Pace University, where I was going, and got my first job out of college that way.
It's very interesting that you said how you would look into the company before you would meet with them when they came recruiting.
Right.
And it was a little bit tougher back then to have to go to the library. Today, with a couple of clicks on their phone, they could check things out. And a lot of them don't.
Is that right? Is that your experience?
Those that are motivated and probably those that deserve the job do.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that I heard, they don't educate themselves enough. And they just go in there to a job interview, So that was a really great point that you made, that you really should do your research, do your homework before you actually go in for an interview.
Yeah, the interview process is so important. It's so important to have all the knowledge. It's so important to be enthusiastic and to know as much as you can about the interview process that you're going to go through with the company, and be as educated as you can. You mentioned doing research on cell phones. One of the biggest mistakes I think that people do today in terms of going to an interview is they forget to turn off their cell phone. They really shouldn't answer texts during the process.
Absolutely.
I mean, these are basic sort of common sense things that you would hope that if I was doing the interview, that the interviewee wouldn't be doing these things.
Yeah, right. Yeah. They have a big tattoo or something on their arm. You don't want to wear a short sleeve shirt.
Right.
You want to be, I guess, whatever the job is going to be, you want to conform to it.
You have to tailor yourself to the expectations of the interviewer. You have to tailor your behavior. You have to tailor your attitude. You have to tailor the experiences that you're bringing to the table to make sure that will resolve or answer their needs. It's very important to understand those issues.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was really getting interested in your background.
Okay.
So let's go on then. How did you advance from that point?
Sure. Well, a lot of it was as I got into the job business and started in roles in companies. In the beginning, I was involved in sales, and I sold lots of different things, including medical devices. I got very interested in the marketing area. So I started to go to school at night to get my MBA, And during the day, I'd work full-time, in my role as a salesman, and then at night I'd be going to school at Iona College to get my MBA in marketing. And then eventually got promoted into a role where I had a role as what was called a product manager, where I was responsible for a product and a brand, and really got to travel around the world and
Wow.
market these products in different areas.
And how old were you back around that time or so?
I was in my late 20s at that time, around 28, 29 or
20,
so.
and traveling the world.
Traveling
What a
the
great experience.
It was fantastic.
Company paid for it.
Absolutely,
Oh,
absolutely.
that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. And it sounds like, you really took a quantum leap from working in the roads and the construction and all that stuff that you were doing, just a short time, years before that.
Right.
But because you had the desire, you had your dreams, you knew where you wanted to go, you achieved or began achieving your success at a fairly young age.
Yeah. And I was very lucky, Mike. I was very fortunate, but I did work hard. I did spend a lot of time in planes and airports and traveling overseas, and it really was a win-win in the sense it was a win for me to experience other countries and cultures and people. It was a win for the company too, because they had this young guy that wanted to travel around the world and help market and sell their products in different countries around the world. So it was really a win-win, and I was very fortunate to be in that position.
Right, right. Now, along the way, did you have to keep taking courses or keep up with the company? Did they offer training and courses for you to keep advancing, or was it something that you were able to do on your own?
It really was a combination of things. So as I mentioned, I was getting my MBA at night, and the school and the professors were pretty helpful because they knew many times I couldn't be in the classroom because I'd be sitting somewhere in Europe or Asia or something like that. So they would help me and give me assignments in advance to do those assignments to bring when I got back.
That was great.
So
Be so flexible like that.
It was really helpful. So that was one part of it. And then the companies that I was involved in were very, very focused and in education, and they would invest in education. So not only did they end up paying for my MBA, but they also sent me and a lot of other of my colleagues to professional courses, whether they were in management, marketing, accounting, finance. It was always a continuous need for higher education.
Right, and that knowledge you have for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
You could leave a company, but you take that with you.
Right.
And I guess you did that, right?
Yeah, sure.
You advanced then, and maybe you could tell us a little more how the process went.
Right, right. So I was in marketing for a period of time for this multinational company focused in the healthcare industry. And as the company grew, they had a need for more general managers. And again, I was very fortunate to be promoted to a general manager in this company. So I had responsibility for a number of different businesses in a number of different parts of the world. So that was great experience for me. The downside for that is that it really did require a lot of time, a lot of investment of my time in the job. On the other side of it, it was great because again, I got to travel the world and meet great people and have lots of fun. And then I got recruited from that company into another company, and as to your point, I was able to take all of the education that I had learned at the previous job into this new role.
That the other company paid for. Too.
Right. Right.
So that's really a home run there.
Right.
And then you transitioned into this new job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at the same level, or was it an advancement, or how did you get into that?
It was a much bigger role in terms of responsibility for the amount of dollars that I was managing, the amount of products that I was managing, and most importantly, the amount of people that I was managing. So it was definitely a step up. And during that time, as you and I talked earlier, during that time, I was working and understanding what was happening with the startup company environment. We were either investing in startup companies or buying them or licensing their products. So I was really interested in two different areas. One was sort of the big company growth and how do you grow that, and then how do you work with all these little startup companies with very bright entrepreneurs who have very unique talents and are bringing very different products to the marketplace.
And that has to be so exciting, that whole entrepreneur in the medical field, I guess you specialized in.
Yes.
Going back a little bit, and I think this could be encouraging for students or people who are looking to get into the job market, is that if I remember, we had a period where the economy wasn't doing that well. And it was probably around that time, right, that you were entering the job market or in the early part of it?
This is actually telling you what my age is, but I graduated my undergraduate degree. I finished that in 1976. And if you remember correctly, the job market at that time was very poor. I mean, there was a gas crisis.
Oh, gas lines, right?
Exactly.
Every other day, and to get gas, and lines halfway down the block,
Right.
and everybody was, interest rates, if I remember, were like high, and everything was out of control.
And it was a challenge.
Hard getting there, so people today, if they think, wow, the economy stinks, and I'm not going to get a job, and they're taking something, I think you could really be a great role model for them to say, you did it under the conditions as bad, if not worse, than what it's like for somebody today. Am I correct with that?
Yeah, in addition to that, though, I was very fortunate. I had a lot of mentors. I had my parents pushed me to get additional education, to go to school. So I had a lot of influences on me that were really, I was very fortunate in that regard.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And you mentioned mentors, and it always helps for everybody if somebody could just take you under their wing and help out. And I know when I was teaching, we had a program. It was called Senior Initiative, and I worked with seniors, and we gave them an opportunity to pick an area of their interest and do an internship or some type of research that they wanted to work on in a field, so they at least know a little bit about it before they go to school and spend a ton of money, and then realize, oh wow, I don't want to do that, But in your experience, are you seeing, interns, or have you had experience with college or high school students getting involved with your company or companies?
Sure, I think it's a great way, as you suggested, for students in high school or at the college level to get exposed to different fields and really explore whether or not that's what they want to do once they get out of college. And I've had experience with kids both in the high school, on the high school level, and in the college level. As a matter of fact, my daughter, we've had recent experience. She's an undergraduate at Fordham University.
Okay,
and
great.
over the last couple of years, she's interned in both retail areas, and she just was in London for a period of time, and she got to intern at a very interesting museum there. So she got these experiences, and it's sort of helping her craft her way or design her way into what she wants to do as a career. So
Sure, and look at the side benefit, studying in London too.
Right.
How many people could say that they had an internship like that?
Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times too with internships, it could actually, if they like you, lead to a position, right?
Yeah, sure. It happened many times in the companies that I've been involved in. It's a strategic focus for some of the larger companies to hire interns. That way, not only do the interns get a sense of whether or not that's what they want to do in their career, but if the companies really like the individual, it's not unusual for these companies to offer these students a full-time job when they get out.
Yeah, that's great. Well, now you you worked your way up, you became the CEO of the company, and then you went on to have your own company.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's like the dream,
Right.
the American dream. Start your own company, but not only did you start it, you're all over the world, right?
Sure.
You travel a little bit to the Japan, I guess, and some areas there, but you have some really great companies, right?
Yeah.
With Attain Management and
Right.
you know.
Well, we were talking about earlier, if you get a good education, you always take that with you. And what I did about 5 years ago, again, when the economy was a bit challenged, I was watching lots of these early stage companies be challenged in terms of it was difficult to get financing, it was difficult to hire good people. People didn't want to leave their jobs, their current jobs, for fear that a new startup company would be a bit risky. So I actually saw all these needs in the marketplace, and I started a company specifically to help early stage and middle-sized companies grow their business. So again, it was a bit of a transition and a challenge, but we help companies today, primarily companies in the medical device field. We help them in a number of different areas, whether it's product development, whether it's regulatory, FDA related, or it could be financing or finding a strategic partner. We've done it many times before. My colleagues and I have years and years of experience in doing this at large organizations, and over the last 5 years, we've built a very nice business helping smaller companies do this.
Right, right. And I think you hit something on the head too, that you know all these people out there. Your networking is really what makes that one of the things that makes it successful.
Yeah.
And for everybody, as people start, networking is really how you get ahead, right? Isn't it, in the business world? And
absolutely, it's so important to keep those relationships and keep those channels of communication open. And I think with this world of social media, where you can text or use Twitter or any of these great electronic technologies for communication, it's really important to keep even your previous relationships, keep in touch with them. When we started the company, we developed clients in the United States, in Europe, and Asia, and the first clients that we developed were all previous colleagues or colleagues from a previous role that I had they were now either into other businesses or starting their own businesses. So that's how we started at Attain.
yeah, that's great. I hear from ex-students of mine, they'll talk about their experiences, and they keep their friends from high school through Facebook and social media.
Sure.
A lot of them started something, maybe a friendship that developed into a business venture, or wherever they're working, now they have the network to help them with sales or advance or always keep their options open.
Exactly. I mean, I think the most famous story is Microsoft. I mean, Bill Gates used a lot of his employed a lot of his friends at Microsoft in the early days, and Ballmer ended up as the CEO. He was the first sales guy, and
right.
He relied on a lot of his friends and relationships.
It's
so
nice
you could be a Microsoft if you tried.
Microsoft, or even like with Facebook, and everything.
Another great example.
Another great example.
Sure.
Back in college, how they all became billionaires by the time they were 30.
Right.
So there is opportunity out there for any students who are thinking about it, or anybody at any level of changing careers. You're really educating people today on the real world, and I think it's so important. And you're a man who has had dreams, you've had goals, you've achieved them. What's next?
So next for me, one of the challenges that I'd really like to accomplish is I'd like to write 2 books. I've got 2 books in mind.
Really?
So so it's a little bit different than what I've done before.
Okay.
So I'm trying to figure out how to make the process work.
So you're thinking about writing books?
Yeah.
What type of book would it be, or books?
Well, so you may be aware of this. I know you're from the North Fork of Long Island.
Right.
So I'd like to write about what I know about best, and what I know about best is my family. And the first book that I have in mind is, I think that with the 70th anniversary of the end of World War II coming up shortly, I think a lot of people will be interested in understanding what happened during World War II and what happened at the end of World War II. How did all the economies get going again? And I'd like to do this through the eyes of Robert Glover, who was a sergeant in Europe at the end of World War II and stayed through the Army, what was known as the Army of the Occupation. We have about please.
Robert, he does have the same last name as you. I assume a relative?
He's my father.
Okay, wow.
And in World War II, he wrote about 200 letters home to his family describing his experiences and his thoughts and his observations about what was happening in World War II. And at the end of World War II and all of the tragedies associated with World War II. So it's a very interesting perspective that I think not only historians, but I think folks like you and me would be interested in reading and understanding.
Sure. And you have the resources then right there.
We do.
You have the letters that he wrote and everything.
We do, yeah. Some really neat adventures and experiences that he had in World War II.
You know, and your timing and everything with it, and the anniversary.
Right.
It really sounds like a great project.
Yeah.
Are you starting to work on it, or are you outlining it now, or reading the letters?
I've spent quite a few hours. I've gone through all the letters. I've actually transcribed all of the letters from paper into an electronic format. So, and I'm starting to craft the idea of what the book would be like and what might be interesting to the readers. Again, thinking 70 years later, and who might be interested in reading about these types of things that happened on a worldwide scale through the eyes of somebody that's actually on the ground.
That is great, Tom. You know, you have shared so many wonderful things today, and your last project with this book just sounds like another goal that you're going to accomplish, and I'm sure it's going to be a bestseller. I'm looking forward to reading it. And Tom, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having
today.
me.
It's
I've enjoyed it.
Great, you know, so much that we had, and it's been a lot of fun.
Good.
Okay, we'll have to do it again.
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Great.